box, yelling into megaphones, killing hard rocks, using carcasses as stepping stones. Had to promise that I'd stop holding my marches the day that Chris Columbus got crucified in golden arches. My pedestal was too tall to climb off. In fact, that's the reason for the high horse. And from up here, I see Marines and Hummers on a conquest. Underdogs with wonder bras in a push-up contest. All for the sake of military recruitment. They fella Kent State the way they targeted the students. I galloped off.
Hello, this is Aydin from WCR. Let's continue to bring you more audio commentaries than you have legally on music. This audio commentary is copyrighted 2009, WC Replays. If you could, go ahead and start getting your replay queued up. We're going to be at the 1 minute and 45 second mark on 1x speed. It does need to be on Soccer's perspective with Fog of War off. I personally will be jumping over to Sky's perspective a few times to talk about things that are going on and to hopefully quote more accurate information for you. But for most of the game we will want to be looking at Soccer's perspective, and that is important at one point in this game in particular. Before I keep going here, I want to go ahead and point out that this audio commentary is going to be a strategy commentary. What I'm looking to do is to provide you with an actual strategy that you can use for your games in the future. In a lot of my previous audio commentaries, I've taken the time to explain how you can adapt to a situation, how scouting has changed situations, how different things have affected how a game has played out. But in this one, I would like to show you how a lot of times, whenever you're playing really well, the game's going to be working and operating under your control of the map and under your control of what's going on. And to be able to hold on to that control and play well, you really need to have a strategy to work on. And so today we're going to be doing a strategy that I think is very particular to Echo Isles, but it's a very entertaining one, and there's a lot of strength behind it, especially because it wouldn't be a strategy that I would say is highly salient. There aren't a lot of people that are going to be familiar with this or ready for this type of push to come from you. But whenever you're watching a replay and whenever you're trying to learn a new strategy, there are three things that you need to watch for, and these are the three things I'm going to try to present to you and develop for you throughout the course of this audio commentary. You need to be able to identify how a certain strategy works, like what is the key technique that makes this strategy works. For a lot of Orc players, part of this strategy is strong creeping out of Blade Master level 3, and getting good items on him early game to develop map control and different things like that. And that's not even a highly developed argument, right? For human players, a fast expo or a fast expansion style strategy is based on getting more resources than your opponent and then keeping them either from expoing or getting a strong tier 2 or tier 3 army faster than they can and going on from there. And there are a lot more examples that we could go into if I really wanted to start examining specifics, but I don't want to take the time to make all those different arguments for you right now. But in general, just understand that there are different things that make certain strategies work, and that's what you need to identify when you're watching the replay. Sometimes it's not, their micro that makes it work. Sometimes it's the army composition, it's timing, different things like that. The next thing that you really need to learn is you need to figure out when to abort the strategy. And in part, that's a very simple thing to say, but at the same time, part of learning when to abort a strategy is also about figuring out the strengths and weaknesses of the strategy that you're using and knowing when it's time to do something different. For example, in this audio commentary, or in this replay that we're going to be looking at today, if the elf player was to get tower rushed at tier 1, it wouldn't be the best idea to continue trying to do what he's going to do here in these next few minutes. And then lastly, it's important to identify what skills are necessary for you as a player in terms of your micro, macro, and awareness of timing to be able to make a strategy work. And I'm going to be talking to you about all three of those throughout the replay, but you should by now, and 10 minutes ago, be at the 1 minute and 45 second mark, 1x speed, Soccer's perspective. So let's go ahead and get unpaused here in a moment, and then I'll be talking about a few different things at once for you just to make it entertaining. But go ahead and unpause here in 3, 2, 1, unpause. Now this is one of the really nice audio commentators, give you a countdown, I don't give a shit. Okay, now what you see here is you've got Soccer setting up. He's going to AOW creep, and he's training a warden right now. And so he's going to creep these mercenaries first before he goes after anything else. What makes this useful is that if the human player was to tower rush him immediately, he would ideally be able to get a few merc units into the fight to make it easier for him. Now that's not to say that a human player might not try to tower rush you if you were to do this strategy. And if he did, you may want to consider building another AOW in your base, a few different things. But anyways, the point is, the reason why you're probably not going to see the human player do that is because the human player, of course, is going to want a fast expo and doesn't want to mess with this Ancient of War over here and risk losing units on a strategy that's very all-in. One thing to note is while this AOW creeping is going on, we're going to see that Soccer throughout this game is constantly controlling units in different places of the map. Right now he's got a Wisp going in, and he was hoping to get a detonate on Sky's water elemental to pick up some extra experience points, but Sky saw the Wisp coming in, started to chase it, so he started to run it away because he doesn't want to waste the experience points by giving it to the human player, and also he wants to maintain the wood if he can. And right there he sets a rally point on the Wisp so it'll turn the corner, and now he jumps back to creeping. The point I'm trying to make here is that Soccer is working on multiple points on the map at once. So whether or not you want to term this as micro or macro, and I will try to define those later for you, at least as I use them, but you have to have a decent level of it to make the strategy work. Now here what we're going to see is Soccer's putting pressure on the Archmage right here. The reason is he basically knows he's not going to get any kills right now with just his Warden and this Archer without having to run a bit too far. And it looks like he is going to chase down the Shadow Priest now that he's seen it. But beyond this, he's not really going to be able to work on Footmen, and just initially it's a good idea to get some damage going on the Archmage so that the Archmage loses the ability to continue harassing too much. If the Archmage keeps harassing, the Archmage will keep taking Shadow Strikes and eventually will get itself killed, giving the Elf more map control than the human player wants to forfeit at this time. Now, if we look over, we're going to see that our good friend Soccer is losing a few Wisps back in his base, but at the same time he's able to keep pressure on the Archmage, and what this is going to allow him to do is he's going to expo in a second. This is a very, very standard move. And actually, if you look down at the bottom of the map, it's funny, this pig actually blocked the expo from going up, so he's not building it quite as early as he wanted to in terms of this game. That's stupid critters. Sasuke gave you a good little speech on that one too. But anyways, it is still very standard in this matchup and on this map to go ahead and go for a counter expo against human players. But what we're going to see happen later in this game is a bit different than just the standard counter expo. One thing real quick to look at is our good friend Soccer also just at the very top of the map used a Shadow Strike to take out a Footman. What's important about this is that Soccer is slowly picking units away from Sky, right? And if you've watched Soccer's micro, by running his units away instead of engaging over and over and over again, he's managing to not lose any units. If you use Shadow Meld and keep running units away, generally speaking, you don't have to lose that much tier 1. There's a reason why an Elf player with 3 Archers and a Demon Hunter can fight back a Death Knight and 6 to 8 Ghouls along with Skeleton Rods. I mean, it's all about not taking damage until you're ready to turn around and actually make a kill on a unit. So what we're going to see here is, now that Soccer has got his counter expo going up right now, he's also started to build an Ancient of War up near the middle of the map, and back at his main, he's going to start his tech here in just a little bit. He's going to be going to tier 2. What's important for you to think about and note in terms of the strategy is that he's teching later than usual. The reason for this is so that, number 1, he can build his counter expo during tier 1. He needs it going while he's still in tier 1 to ensure that he can get it up. And the other reason is so that he can get this other Ancient of War going and working for him early on in the game. Now as we see here, Sky came in and started to harass Soccer while he was going for the creep to clear way to be able to walk his tree in later. And what's really huge here, and why Soccer can make the strategy work so well, not to imply that one of us couldn't, because I've actually been using this strategy lately against a few people in my clan to a reasonable amount of success. I've been struggling with the timing a little bit, which having watched this a time or two more, I feel a lot more prepared to go in and use this strategy. But anyways, it's unit preservation that is going to make this strategy so ridiculously effective for Soccer as we see this move into the late game. And I mean, you see this priest unit still running away. I mean, the human player is having to waste a lot of time and energy to go for these kills and isn't really picking off units. I'm not sure if you've noticed